around you. You haven't been watching the dark corners of the world. Maybe living in a palace has made you soft.
Hello everyone, I'm Ben from What Culture, and let's talk about Dishonored 2, shall we? Oh, sorry, Dishonored. That's Dishonored because there's no U in there, Americans. Firstly, let's get the big boy swinging out of the way early. I loved the original Dishonored on PS3, completing it multiple times and even earning my 50th Platinum trophy in the process. So I like to think that I know Arcane's do whatever the f*** you want Stab City formula pretty well. If you are unfamiliar, however, the Dishonored series is a gaslight/steampunk fantasy where you sneak your way about the place using crazy powers gifted to you by a mysterious outsider. But the real question is, can they recapture the magic of the original and do it again? Yes. Yes, they can. Following the brave work of Corvo Attano to avenge the assassination of then Empress Jessamine Caldwin and clear his name in the first game, he now serves as royal protector to his and Jessamine's daughter, Empress Emily Caldwin. In the wake of the assassination of several of her political rivals, which looks bad, a usurper arrives, enacting a coup, taking the throne, and plunging the empire into chaos. She's also totally responsible for those assassinations, by the way. And here's where things get interesting, as you get the opportunity to either reassume the shoes of gruff-voiced mask enthusiast Corvo or his equally dangerous daughter, Emily. Choosing either renders the other obsolete for the duration of the game, and the able-bodied party escapes and goes to live on a boat. No, really, you live on a boat. A sexy murder boat! From which you travel from Dunwall to Serkonos, where the Duke and BFF of the usurper rules with his horrid cronies, whom you systematically take down one by one. It's a really great premise, and the more you learn of Emily's unwanted replacement, the more fascinating the world and characters become. Plus, as absurdly sexy and murderous as the boat is, heading back there after missions really helps to break up the action and provide some stress-free respite, particularly as a big red cross is put through another face on your dangerous dream board. Dishonored is a captivating and unique-looking game with a distinctive sense of style that perfectly matches its Victorian-esque setting. Each character model looks like it's been handcrafted from clay with bulbous noses, accentuated ears, and weird tufts of hair. It really is quite striking, and that extends to the world too, with large ornate buildings, bizarre contraptions, and horrifying mechanisms, and clockwork soldiers. Fuck them. It's as if the harnessing of electricity was accompanied by uninhibited creativity. It's all proper mental, and I love it. But that's not all. The various environments you traverse will be covered in an almost overwhelming level of detail and lore. Each room and building tells a story. You'll find notes detailing the deaths of family members, unique poems and sea shanties, and local newspapers covering the events you've brought to pass. That's not to say it's perfect, though. I encountered numerous text glitches as I played, as well as NPCs walking into objects obliviously, and once I even fell through the floor, which isn't, the best for a stealth game. Plus, for a game that encourages stealth, the fact that the sound of your footsteps appears to play slightly out of sync with your actual movements can be incredibly confusing, particularly when you're on the lookout for hostile NPCs. By its very nature, Dishonored allows you to play however you'd like. Once again, you're equipped with a sword, gun, and crossbow, as well as a unique roster of powers for each character. But how and when you use these are totally up to you, and the meticulous design of each level to give you options complements this philosophy. Would you like to sneak around, slitting throats and hiding the evidence? What about slinking around the periphery and avoiding combat altogether? Hell, if you want to charge in there and cause as much chaos as you can possibly muster, then you absolutely can. Be careful though, as the ending changes depending on the devastation you leave behind. And you'll encourage the introduction of blood flies, which is this title's equivalent of the original's rat plague, and they lay eggs in dead bodies, and oh god, they're just so horrible. But this variety extends way beyond combat, as although your ultimate goal is to take down the usurper, the Duke, and their associates, that absolutely does not mean you have to kill them. Each mission will offer an alternative, non-violent outcome, but finding out what that is up to you. Rifling through offices, listening to audio tapes, reading notes, overhearing conversations, at some point, someone's going to let something useful slip, and then you have your new objective. Using powers is almost essential to making this happen, and while Corvo and Emily have different abilities, they both range broadly from the passive view enemies through walls to offensively sicking an army of rats on someone to short-range teleportation. Emily's Shadow Walk and Tether abilities are particularly good, with the first allowing you to assume the form of a stealthy shadow beast and the other causing tethered foes to fall to the same fate as whomever they're tethered to, allowing for unique combinations and a very dangerous offense. But if you're mad enough, you can turn down the powers altogether and have a go without them. You nutcase. However, even with these gifts, sometimes you will want to curse the developers and their horrid creation. You see, I preferred to play through stealthily without killing anyone, but this proved very challenging and irritating in the early goings. Could it be that I was still getting accustomed to the game? Yes, but it didn't help that I was hiding in undergrowth that my foes could see straight through, or that there were some buildings where enemies were able to spot me from outside through solid walls. And then, when you are caught, you can run, you can hide, but these buggers are ruthless, almost to a fault. For example, when I grabbed someone to choke them out, their allies were only too happy to swing wildly at me, cutting down their friend in the process. That being said, things did start to go better as I settled into my own playstyle and unlocked some new powers, and it's very easy to forget about the frustrations when you finally start to have things go your way. Plus, there are some particularly inspiring missions here, ones that let you play rivaling factions off against one another, sneak into a witch's base of operations, and even a groundbreaking level that sees you switch back and forth between timelines. F*** that Clockwork Mansion though, and those Clockwork Soldiers? Rubbish, overpowered, and I hated them. I suppose you could call them Clockwork Soldiers for Whackers. Hashtag Clockwork Soldiers for Whackers. Probably didn't help that the loading screens were bloody long though. Finally, here are 3 things you need to know. Firstly, Corvo and Emily's stories are not the same. Yes, you play through the same missions and have the same end goal, but they have their own experiences, interactions, cutscenes, dialogue, powers, and they control very differently. Secondly, the sheer scope of variety both helps and hinders, as although your unique actions and approaches in levels are perfect conversation fodder, so too are your frustrations and issues. There's a good chance that a lot of the stuff I had a problem with will never be experienced by another player, which makes it very difficult to ever be sorted out. Thirdly, it deserves your attention. As a unique action stealth game that's structured the way it is, there's an unbelievable amount of replayability here. With 2 characters, multiple playstyles, different ways to proceed through levels, and tons of secrets to find, Arcane Studios have lived up to the legend of the original and have crafted a title that does so much right that its biggest flaws seem nowhere near as damaging. Just make sure you save frequently.
Sweet girl, over time you'll come to love me. Perhaps someday you'll see me as the mother you lost. But until then, you'll be kept out of trouble.
I'll lock Lady Emily in her chambers, and I'll bring her to Coldstream Prison until her trial.